To see few of you here on a Sunday morning after a banquet. I'm sure it must have ended up very late. So here we all four of us are going to talk about certain issues which and complications which occur in the operating theatre and the periphery and how we can manage them. So in the next couple of slides, I'll be telling you some practical tips about how to diagnose a local. I'm going to talk about the toxicity which occurs due to a local anesthetic, which all of you are using these local anesthetics to do certain blocks. And so, see, in our setup, we are lucky because it's an institute. It's an institute, so we have the anesthetist available to the ophthalmologist anytime they want the emergency or the routine. So we have two blocks. One is the local block and one is the general anesthesia unit. So both are side by side. But many times what happens that some resident, he's been doing some block and then some convulsions or the saturation goes down. Some complication happens when they're giving the local anesthetic and then they rush to our side. And many times we have had and rescued them. Now, this is when it's in the routine times, that is, our routine time is from 8:30 to 5, then we are available right in the same periphery. We are away probably just half a minute away. But what happens that when we are in the emergency scenario, the anesthetists are in a separate block. So I would like to just tell you some practical tips about, if the anesthetist is not available to you immediately. So what are the steps you can do before some definitive help comes? So here we had I'll just talk about this patient where the resident was giving a retrobulbar block. I think it was for a cataract surgery, and then the patient just went into convulsions. So the resident just came, rushed to our side, and we went and we managed the patient. So what are the possibilities, when you're giving a local anesthetic, what are the manifestations of the toxicity? See, first of all, whenever a local anesthetic toxicity occurs, the patient, when you're giving, your patient suddenly starts getting a little fidgety first, if it is a classical presentation, and then, there is a sudden twitching in the circumoral area. So, it's this area. He suddenly will, or you can probably, if you feel that he is not comfortable, you can ask him कि आपको यहाँ पे मुंह के आसपास कुछ अजीब सा तो नहीं लग रहा है, कुछ चींटियां तो नहीं चल रही हैं. That is a very typical thing कि चींटियां तो नहीं चल रही हैं. And the other thing is the metallic taste. They start getting this metallic taste. But classically what happens while you're talking to the patient about the metallic taste, and then suddenly, first the CNX excitement, they start convulsing. And then after convulsing, they'll suddenly go into a coma, like they'll be just non-responding. And then suddenly, after that, what will happen? The heart rate and the blood pressure would start going up. It's a CVS excitement because suddenly the heart rate and the blood pressure are up. And after that, then there is a cardiac arrest. So this is the classical manifestations, but your patient might suddenly probably go on to a convulsion and straight away go on for a cardiac arrest too. So I'll tell you when that happens, but typically when you're giving a block and you just feel that maybe, you have done something wrong, you've given a large dose or some blood came in your aspiration. So first thing you can ask is about the prodromal symptoms which I just told you. So the local anesthesia toxicity, first of all, it can occur if you have injected the drug in the vessel. Now if the drug has gone into the vessel, it needn't be a large volume. Even 2 ml, 3 ml is enough. So one should not think that the toxicity will occur only if the volumes are large. And when you have gone intravascular, all these symptoms, they will come very fast. Maybe within less than a minute, the patient, all these things will happen. And in these, many of the times, if it's intravascular, you will not get that convulsions and then the coma, but you will probably straight away go on to a cardiac arrest. But also one must remember that if your patient is a very young patient, pediatric age group less than 4 months or more than 70 years, especially if they have some comorbidities, that they have maybe a liver disease or kidney problems or a cardiac problem, and if you have exceeded your dose, so what happens, even if you are not intravascular, the dose slowly starts getting absorbed, or it is not getting metabolized because your liver and the kidney are not functioning properly. So the manifestations would again come. The toxicity would still come, but it will take longer time. It will be like maybe a more than 15 minutes. So be wary. When you have given the block, it's an old patient, so be careful. All these symptoms can occur even after 15 minutes. So the good clinical pearl is that you must monitor for at least 30 minutes. So what actually happens here? See, if you can see here, this is your ophthalmic, this is your ophthalmic artery here. This is the circle of Willis. So now if your local anesthetic is going right over here into the vessel directly, it will go on to the circle of Willis, it will go on to the anterior and the middle cerebral arteries. And so what happens immediately, because the drug is going directly into the vessels, you will immediately have a cardiac arrest or the convulsions like I talked about. But the other thing is that the optic nerve is actually wrapped up by the optic sheath. Now, if your drug in fact goes in this space here, in the optic sheath, it will directly go into the dura and the subarachnoid space. And now if you try to remember your anatomy, this is the CSF and the dura is in direct communication with the brain. So again the drug will move up, and it can, and because your eye, when you're giving the blocks, it is very much near the brain stem. So again these problems, immediately the brain stem is, the local anesthetic is going to go there, and the patient immediately will again have a collapse. The other thing is the ocular cardiac reflex, which we all know is the bradycardia, which happens if there is excessive pressure on the globe. Though it is not like it's not a typical systemic toxicity, but I just thought I'll mention it over here. So how do we prevent these problems, how can we prevent the local anesthesia toxicity? Please calculate the dose. I'll just tell you, the most common drugs which we're using are the lignocaine and the bupivacaine. So I think most of you are using it without the adrenaline, I think. Are all of you using without adrenaline? So then the dose is a little even lower. So it is a 5 milligram for a lidocaine, and a bupivacaine it's a 2 milligram. So whenever you're drawing up the drug, calculate the dose and always cross check with the weight of the patient, because what happens sometimes, you're used to doing a predetermined volume, but if your patient is very, very thin, and most of the old patients, they would be like a 35 kgs. So calculate the dose. Suppose you're giving a bupivacaine, so it's a 30 kg patient, so 30 into 2, it becomes a 60 milligram. And 60 milligram, and each ml has a 5 milligram. So 60 divided by 5, it becomes 12 ml. So when you're drawing up the bupivacaine, just be careful that you're not exceeding that 12 ml. Because many times these patients are, like I told you, just frail. So double calculate it. Suppose you're used to drawing up a 15 ml for your local anesthetic block. Do remember that if your patient is frail with comorbidities, calculate the dose again according to the weight of the patient. And then whenever you're giving the drug, make it a habit to keep on aspirating after every 1 ml of the drug. And use a short bevel 25-26 gauge needles. I'm sure all of you must be using smaller gauge needles. And in your operation theatre, please keep atropine and adrenaline and the equipment for intubation always ready. It's not a bad idea to keep the atropine drawn up. It comes in a 1 ml ampule. So take that 1 ml of atropine and dilute it to another 4 ml of saline. So you get it's a 0.6 milligram ampule, so each ml becomes a 0.12 milligram. Because many times before the patient goes into a cardiac arrest, you will probably get a bradycardia many of the times. So when that is happening, you can at least inject the atropine if it is already drawn up. And it's a very cheap drug. It's not a very expensive drug that, even if it gets wasted up, and one syringe will do well for the whole day. And once it occurs, obviously call for help, but meanwhile, while you're calling for help, have a ventimask ready, give oxygen to the patient, and if the monitors are not attached, put the monitor, at least the heart rate, blood pressure and the oxygen saturation, I believe would be available in the OT. Like I said, keep the drugs atropine and adrenaline ready. Adrenaline you needn't draw, but at least atropine I feel one must always have it ready in the OT. And one must know the basic steps of a CPR. I wouldn't be able to tell in detail, but maybe if somebody wants to know the details, I can tell you after the presentation. And the airway management, obviously, if a patient has stopped breathing, you need to call somebody if intubation is required. But till that time, you can definitely give oxygen via ventimask. And if the patient is starting to convulse or just starting to twitch a little bit, oxygen is definitely being given. You can give a benzodiazepine. Succinylcholine here is not for you because if you want to do an intubation. But you can give a diazepam or midazolam is available in the OT. So even that vial should be available in your OT theater. So one can give a 1 milligram of midazolam to start with, but you can go on up to even 5 milligrams. And then a little bit about this little lipid emulsion. If the local anesthesia toxicity can be very well dealt with if you give, I don't know how many of you know, but when you're giving a TPN, that is a parenteral nutrition, there is a 20% of a fat solution which we give. So in the last decade, there's been a lot of studies about, you can give the lipid emulsions and that just takes away the local anesthetic and binds with it. So the local anesthetic is then not available to act on the heart and the brain. So this is something which is it. This is the typical dosage. I would not be going in detail. One can get it from the net. And obviously, if all this doesn't work, there's always the possibility of going on a bypass. So my take-home message is that whenever you're drawing up any of the drugs, calculate your dose. Doubly means according to the weight of the patient also. Always give it slowly, aspirate while you're giving it, and be vigilant for unusual symptoms. Keep on talking to the patient while you're given the block and for the next 10-15 minutes. And monitor for at least 30 minutes after the block and always have a 20% lipid ready for use. Thank you.